Mossey. I'm here with my co-host Cara. So, we tried to do a live so everybody could be included. And Instagram is still having issues. So we're back and we're going to do this podcast this way, pre-recorded, and then post it to Instagram and all the other platforms so everybody can see it. And then hopefully by the time we're back for the next podcast, it'll be fixed. So we're going to be talking about the other way. I feel like I've said this a billion times. It's episode 16. We're going to start with Statler and Dempsey again. I'm not going to change anything. We're going to start with them. And we're discussing this before, like the last 3 times. And Statler's going back to work. And she took 2 weeks off, 14 days to get ready or accustomed to living in a van. I don't think 14 days would be enough for me. Just going to be real. And her first day back, that morning, she realized that there were no adapters. There was no internet. There's a lot of technical issues. And again, I'm going to say I think Statler should have done her homework and set things up. Okay, so when I am planning ahead, like for instance, when I go out of town, sometimes I still want to record my podcast. So I'll bring like all of my equipment with me. And then as soon as I get to the hotel, I'll do like a internet speed test, just a little pre-work, just so I don't, set myself up to fail. And I feel like Statler could have done a little more pre-work. Oh, and we have brought it before. There are these little mobile hotspots that you can buy. Again, Cara, you made a good point. I don't know how that works overseas. But I know here in the U.S., you can buy like a hotspot and it brings internet with you. Like literally, it's like a phone, like a cell phone, but stronger connection. But again, since they're constantly on the move, if she was to buy that in Texas or buy it in the UK, it might not work where they were. So I just feel like the lack of preparation, right? I was saying this before. I live in Florida. Preparation is a difference between life and death. So, preparing yourself and setting yourself up for success is very important because you can fail simply because you didn't put enough preparation into what you're doing.
Are we going with lack of preparation or lack of common sense?
Well, I guess preparation is just a nicer way of saying it.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, you're right. It's common sense. Anybody who is considering living out of a van, there's a lot of preparation, especially, and you want to work a full-time job as the van travels across countries and borders, there's preparation, right? And I feel like Statler, she kind of just shows up. I think you remember I said this before in another podcast. She's that friend that you book the trip, you do everything, you do all the work, and then she just says how much I owe you, and she shows up. This is kind of how she did van life. She just showed up and was like, well, I'm here, let's do it, and just kind of hoped everything was going to work out.
But then she's also mad because her name's not on the van and because she didn't put any of the work in. And then the comment that she made about Dempsey is the van wife. Okay, if she's the van wife, stop treating her like she's your freaking work assistant. Dempsey didn't sign up for this job. Dempsey saved money. Dempsey was prepared. You're the one that was unprepared. You're the one that waited till the very last minute. You're the one ordering her around. And then you can't figure out why she goes and sightsees because she needs a freaking break from you.
Yeah, you're right. They assumed roles. That's a good point. They assumed roles. And Statler was like, I assumed the role of the van provider, right? So that was her role. So and then Dempsey is, the wife. She cooks, she cleans, she takes care of everything around the van. And now Statler wants her to compromise her role. She's like, well, I'm not ready for this. So you need to do this for me. And she's like running her around like a minion.
Yeah.
And I don't agree with that. I don't. I think that Statler is one of those people who, when things go wrong, it's always somebody else's fault. She's like, well, Dempsey should have known that. Dempsey has never lived in a van either. This is new to both of you.
Yes.
So she could not have, assumed the issues because none of y'all have ever lived in anything that had wheels on it before, right? Like this is all new. So you both needed to do all of your due diligent homework ahead of time. I just feel like Statler showed up to a situation that she knew she didn't want to be in, and now she's taking it out on Dempsey. And it's like, Dempsey, this is what she wanted. I get that, but it's like, you didn't have to agree to it, because my friends will call me all the time. I'm like, do you want to do this? I'm like, no. I don't want to do it. Like, I don't want to go on a cruise with you. I don't want to go to this weird country with you. Like, no, I just say no. If Statler had every option and opportunity to say, no, I don't want to live in a van with you. I don't want to work full time while you live your best life. Because that's how I look at it. I was like, who would ever want to work 40 hours a week while the other person is living their best life? I wouldn't be happy. you know, and I'm not blaming Dempsey. Dempsey presented this to Statler as it was, and Statler signed on the dotted line, right? Like, don't call her a scammer because Statler was presented with it and she agreed to it.
Also, when you're like, I don't know, I'm assuming most people are this way, but if you're talking to me and you need me to do something, all you have to do is say, can you do this? And if I say that doesn't work, you should take me at my word. But the whole deal about putting this plug in, can you just see if it fits? It's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. Dempsey clearly see it's not going to fit. She says it won't fit. It's not going to work. Just try it. Just try it. Just try it. And she just kept saying it until Dempsey physically showed her that it's not going to work. That right there, that would light a fire under my ass so bad that I would have left right there. So no wonder when Dempsey left, she was so upset. Not only are you talking down to me, but you're making me do shit that's not going to work. You're wasting my time, wasting your time. Like, everything she approaches and the way she approaches it is wrong.
Yeah, and there's aggression. Like, I feel like she takes aggression out on people when she's annoyed. You know, we kind of saw it on the what do you call it, the ferry. She didn't want to be on the ferry, so instead of, you know, dealing with her own emotions, Statler was like, "Oh, you don't feel comfortable? Let me try to help you." And she basically told her to get the hell away from me. I feel like she brings aggression with her frustration. Like, you can be frustrated without being aggressive towards people, but I don't think she knows how. I think her way of dealing with frustration is by taking it out on other people, and that might explain why she's been single for so long. You know, because she's been in random relationships where she got used for a short amount of time and then ended up alone. And I'm not saying that the other people didn't screw her over. I don't know. We don't know the full story. But I don't know very many people that want to stay long term with someone who just blames everything on them, no matter what the situation.
One thing she said was, I feel like I'm being scammed. Okay. Who uprooted everything, goes to England, literally, I'm going to move in with you. She just says, I'm going to move in with you. That's what happened all last season. I'm going to move in with you. Dempsey's like, well, you're going a little too fast. So you don't think Dempsey was feeling like she's scammed? Okay, so you just up and move here? I would feel like that's a scam. This is the first time we've ever met.
Yeah, I think, and Dempsey said early in the season, she told Statler when she was getting rid of all of her stuff, she was like, you know, if you want to work another year and save more money so you feel more ready to do this. And Statler's like, nope, I want to do it right now. Let's do it right now. I'm ready. I'm coming to you. And then once she gets there, she's like, Statler scammed me. And it's like, I don't like the lack of accountability. It's like, she actually said, hey, if you don't think you have enough money, you don't think this is going to be something that you're ready to do, because preparation, again, super fucking important. But Statler's just like, no, let's do it. I want to be with you. We love each other. And I'm like, love does not matter when you're in a tiny little van with somebody. Like, this happened with the hurricane. A lot of people were like posting in the Ring app groups and Nextdoor groups. They were like, yo, I didn't realize how much I hated this person until we were stuck with no power, no water, in a house we couldn't leave. And it's like, being in a small space really does change the way you feel about people. And I think Dempsey, when she looked at Statler in this episode and just started crying, she realized, I'm living with a monster.
Yeah.
Right? I feel like she looked at her and saw her for what she was, and she's like, I can't escape her. She's like, my bed is her workstation. You know, like, now I've screwed up to the point where I'm locked in this tiny space with someone that I don't even like. I think that's when she realized it.
It's just like the divorce rate during COVID. Everyone was locked in their houses together and realized how much you can't live with these people. You're stuck with them around the clock. So I don't know what makes them think that condensing that space into this little tiny box and going to the bathroom together, going to the store together, going to sleep together, going to work together, going everywhere together, that they would get even a half ounce apiece. One thing Dempsey said was, I feel like I haven't had a moment to myself. Well, damn girl, you are not going to get any moments to yourself now. You're stuck in a box.
Yeah, I think you're right. They both didn't prepare or anticipate what they
Yeah.
were getting into. I think Dempsey was like, oh, it's my dream to just live off the land and be on the road. Yeah, but she didn't anticipate bringing Statler. First of all, Statler, I told you, she's Buzz Killington from the start. If you're trying to do something fun and amazing, Statler is going to find a way to shit on it. Because that's her personality. She's going to find something wrong with whatever you have going on. And then living with her, dealing with her issues and her lack of planning. And when she's like, no work, no van life. And I'm like, well, that's not necessarily true. Because Dempsey planned ahead and has money saved up. Yo broke ass is the one that came over here with no money. So I was like, technically, you would need to go home. She could probably continue on for a while because she planned a little better than you. You know, like you should have planned better. Oh, I want to talk about James and Tata because they had this conversation in Indonesia with her parents about kids. And apparently in Indonesia, if you don't have kids and you're married, her mom said your marriage is empty. And the dad said you leave no legacy. So it's not necessarily that you want kids in Indonesia. It's something that you have to do in order to be fulfilled and leave a legacy. And honestly, I always have disagreed with that because you know how in some countries, like for a man, like I think in Africa, he's not really fulfilled unless he has an offspring that can continue his name or whatever. He might not want that child. And I'm a firm believer in children should only be brought here because two people really want to bring a child here. I don't think that legacy or continuing your name, none of that is important when it comes down to bringing a child here because a child is a person. It's not an animal. It's not a dog. It's not a cat. Like this is a person that needs to be loved, respected, taken care of, and given everything they need. So James, I think, is in a hard, tough position because he's in Indonesia and he's trying to live by the rules and the culture of Indonesians. And he's an American who don't want kids. And I respect him 100%. If you don't see kids fitting in your life, get a cat, get a dog, you know, like, because if worse comes to worse, you could leave your cat at home, leave enough food and go to work, you know?
They have a dog and they couldn't even bring that with them.
Oh, yeah, we're talking. Yeah, you're right. Their lack of planning, they left the dog in the U.S.
I go back to my statement that I can't remember what season episode. I don't even know if it was the same people, but what is everybody in Indonesia, the Philippines, Nigeria, is everybody fertile? Does nobody have infertility issues? Like, you can't get married and say, now you're married, now you have to have a kid. What if you can't have a kid? So you just divorce?
Oh, yeah. You did bring that up. I do remember you bringing that up because sometimes, like you said, it's not a choice. Your body has to agree and work. And I think Tata said that on her dad's side of the family alone, there's like 3,000 people. Did she say something crazy like that? I'm beginning to think that they're fertile. Like you look at them and they get pregnant. Like how? Because I was trying to fathom. I was like 3,000. Are we talking about first, second, third, fourth, fifth generation cousins? I was like, how could that number doesn't even seem real to me.
I don't think I even know 3,000 people.
I don't either. I know I don't. So the idea that she has that many people related to her, I'm beginning to think infertility issues don't exist over there.
Yeah.
Because they never questioned whether or not Natalia is fertile. They just said that she needs to be pregnant. They never even, because, you know, in the U.S., if you try to have a kid after so many months, you both go to the doctor to see if everything is fine. You know, like that's something that's a checklist item that you check to make sure that everything is working and everything is going fine in order to have a kid. You don't just say, I'm going to have a kid and just expect to get pregnant. But I guess if you're an Indonesian or if you're in certain parts of the world, they don't have those infertility issues that we are used to.
So what's fertile? If he has a problem, if he's infertile, they've been married for 5 years. Do we just, oh, well, I guess it's over and you got to go back?
Well, that's another thing. So 5 years, they've been sleeping together, obviously. Were they using birth control this whole time? Because that's a good question. If they've been sleeping together for 5 years and nobody got pregnant on either, well, not on either end, he can't get pregnant. But if she never got pregnant, that means that there's an issue between the two of them. Yeah. Because 5 years, you know what they say, it only takes one time, especially the younger you are, it only takes one time. But they've been together way too long for no oops baby to have popped up at this point, unless she has birth control or he's using some sort of birth control. Like, it's really weird to me that they didn't accidentally have a baby. Because, you know, so many people that I know that are young and just get married and they're living their best life, they just pop up pregnant. right? Isn't that kind of how?
I got married young, and 3 weeks after we got married was my conception date with my son. And we planned it 6 years after we got married, but instead it was 3 weeks. So
because when things are fresh and new, people are super excited about each other, right? They're very excited about each other, and and as you are married longer, I think it's less likely that you'll end up pregnant by mistake.
right.
I think, but in the beginning, and I hate to say mistake, I mean unplanned.
Yeah.
Unplanned is a better way of saying. But I think for them to be together for 5 years and manage to have not gotten pregnant, that's weird.
Yeah.
Especially the fact that she wants to get pregnant, because a lot of women, they'll be like, oh yeah, I'm on birth control. They're not, because they're married and they want to have a child, and if their husband isn't on board, they're just like, I'll just forget to take my birth control, and then we'll get the baby that I want. So the idea that hasn't happened, that's weird to me, because she knows that's what her parents want. Her parents don't care what they want. What you want is unimportant when it comes to their culture. It's what you have to do. You have to produce a child. They're just saying 1, 2, which is good, because I've seen a lot of people, they have kid after kid after kid. They're just asking for 1. They're not asking for a lot, but still, 1 is a hell of a lot to ask for people who don't want a child. And I'm not even sure Natalia wants a child. I haven't seen any qualities in her that makes me think that she's like dying to be a mom. Have you? Like, I'm not really seeing that, so I don't even know if it's
very maternally at all. He says
no, right? She cries about everything.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the baby's crying and she's crying? Everybody's crying. Who's gonna fix anything? Like the whole thing. Because I was like, does she even want to be a mom, or she just does whatever her mom and dad say? Because like, I don't see her as like a mom. No offense, I know once a baby is born, it changes you. You turn into the person you need to be. But I don't see her right now. The person that I see on screen, it doesn't look like she's ready to be taking care of nobody but herself. Barely herself at this point. Neither one of them have a damn job. Like barely herself. I think that they have so many issues that they should be working on other than thinking about a kid. And the parents shouldn't even be pushing them. They're living in the parents' house.
Brought up the job thing because I'm sure you've seen it, but I don't know that everyone else has. So in the beginning, remember they're doing the banana chips and they were talking about selling it, and it was like, I don't know, 83 cents or something like that they made.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. They sent some to Kim and Kim Menzies. They sent some to her. She sampled them. She said they're delicious. She posted a link to be able to buy them.
Mm-hmm.
$18 a pack.
What? Because we heard on the show that it costs like 80 something cents to make, and they sold them for $1.
Yeah, they're $18 a pack, and there's like four banana chips in there.
Oh, so they saw us coming. This is kind of how they do. Remember when Jenny told us way back in the day, she went to the market in India. Sumit was doing something. He sent her to the market. And when they saw her, American, whatever price they gave her was 3 times more than they would give anybody who looked like them. They saw us coming. So because they are selling those for $1 to everybody else, but they're going to sell them for like $18 a pack for us because we're American. I mean, I'm not knocking it. You do what you have to do, but that's crazy. That's like what, 500 time markup? No, 5,000.
Now look at it. They're sending them to other cast members of the show that have large platforms, and they're promoting it. Like, I mean, rightfully so. If they sent me some, I'd promote the shit out of it. But
yeah, I mean, the business practice works. Like I saw Shekinah had some. And the business practice works because I remember back in the day, they had a brand called Ed Hardy. It was a tattoo artist, and he sent his clothes. Well, Christian Archer was the one who put it out, but it was Ed Hardy's designs. He sent his clothes to everybody. Britney Spears, the Jersey Shore people, anybody who was famous at the time. He was like, hey, will you wear my brand? He didn't spend any money on marketing. It was, you saw people wearing it. So I think their marketing is smart. You send it to the people who can get it out to the masses. And then you gouge. Those Ed Hardy shirts were like $150 a shirt.
I very much remember my Ed.
Yeah, it was a freaking genius marketing plan. So I'm not knocking James and Natalia for their marketing plan. It's good. It's proven to work. It's just insane that it costs like 80 cents to make, and you're gonna sell it for so much. But again, if the supply and demand market demands it, you do what you do, right? Because I remember seeing how much it costs to make a car. I think it was like $6,000 to manufacture a car, and then the ticket price was like $46,000. Because I remember learning that in school, and I was like, wow, that's a $40,000 markup. But the demand is high enough that you can get away with it because we need cars, right? Like there's nothing that we can really do to get around that.
So now it got the best of me. I have to look. So 18 US dollars. What is it called over there? Is it is it rupees?
I think it's rupees.
Okay, let's see. It is, yeah, it is a rupee. So $18 is 279,679 rupees.
Holy crap.
So if you figure on the show, they were selling it, it was like, I don't know, 300-400 rupees, which translated to 83 cents in US dollars.
Yeah.
In bank.
Well, yeah, I think their goal is to be rich, you know, and if you can do something, if you have a product that costs you barely nothing to make, and you can sell it, you know, iPhones are doing it too, because I remember seeing how much it costs to make an iPhone and then what I give them. And I was like, see, this is genius. Somebody is sitting at home in a house bigger than a shopping mall right now because the demand allows it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I want to try the chips, though. I'm going to DM James and tell him to send us some, me and you. And then we'll do a little video and we'll talk about it and stuff.
Absolutely.
So I just want to see what it is because I keep hearing that it's not what I think it is. So I just want to see what it is. What's the hype about?
Let them know. We'll try them live on the air.
Yeah, we'll try them live and we'll tell everybody what they taste like. Okay, so Lily's daughter, Vivian, who is a famous actress in the Philippines, is a hater of Josh, right? So we learned some stuff about Josh last night that I didn't know, right? So there was a Vietnamese woman that, okay, backtrack. Josh and Lily were on and off in the beginning when they were dating online before he actually met her. And during one of the periods when they were off, he started dating a woman. And Vivian is the one that brought up she was a Vietnamese woman. It makes no difference to me. But Vivian brought it up. And he posted a photo of him and this woman on his social media. And his response, because, you know, him and Lily were on again, off again. So, you know, people like that, you're broken up, but you're really not because you're probably going to get back together. So she's like, who's this woman? And he's like, oh, it's an ex and she's dead. This woman is alive, very much alive. So he's saying that it's not a big deal. But I was like, saying someone is dead when they're not dead is kind of a big deal to me. Right? Do you feel like that?
Dead to me.
Well, dead to me and dead are not the same.
Yeah, I got a lot of people that are dead to me.
Me too, right? I have family members who are dead to me, but they are alive and well. Okay, yeah. They are alive and well. They are actually going to work every day, living their life. So I don't know. I was a little shocked by that because Vivian is very positive that Josh is there for the ride. He's there for the free ride, the lifestyle, and the money. And Josh has been trying to make it clear to us all season he could care less how much money Lily has or whatever is going on. But I don't know. The way that he reacted to Vivian, because he was like, I don't care about her. I don't care if she likes me. Like, it was a really...
I have a difference of opinion here.
Really?
So, through this, I've always loved Josh and Lily. I think they're great. I thought they were such a cute couple, great communicators, blah, blah, blah. I lost a tad bit of respect for Lily during all of this. The way that I saw it, so the daughter comes in, attacks him for dating this Vietnamese woman. But he said she was talking to an American woman or an American man.
Yeah.
And he's dating the Vietnamese woman. So the way I took it is a bit immature, but he knew she was dating someone else. So he posted this get even picture and she didn't like it. So, okay, she's dead, whatever. That wasn't the best choice of words. But Lily's seeing someone else, Josh is seeing someone else. They get back together, and all Lily can do is tell her daughter, he's a liar. He's this. He's never going to change. you just painted this man to be this horrible person, but yet you're literally trying to marry him again. You're already married, but you want to marry him again in your culture and all of this stuff. And this is the meeting you're nervous between the daughter and the stepdad. You're nervous about it, but the second you sit down and she starts asking questions, you as the wife should be defending your husband, period. But
Yeah.
you're throwing him under the bus. You're saying he's a liar. He's making stuff up. This is not true. He's never going to change. He's a gaslighter, blah, blah, blah. I don't think Josh was wrong. Josh said, I'm not going to I don't care what you think. I don't care what you think. Like, you're going to single-handedly destroy my marriage.
Yeah.
Not like you
Well,
should care what anybody outside of your marriage thinks about your marriage.
I do think Vivian's objective was to go there and cause issues between them. I do think her objective was that. I think she was nervous because she was nervous at, what her task at hand was. I don't think she was nervous to meet him, which was, it's kind of weird, right? Because her mom flew all the way to the U.S. and married this man. The daughter never met him once.
Yeah.
That's questionable, and I put that on the mom. That's not Josh's fault that he never met her. I put that on the mom, and it's not like Vivian couldn't come, and meet him to the U.S. This is a famous actress. We looked up some of the movies she did. Obviously, they're in Chinese language, but blockbuster movies, millions of dollars in box office of scenes. So this is not a situation where if she didn't want, so if she cared a lot about what was going on between her mom and Josh, she could have inserted herself there ahead of time. She waited until after they've been married for all this time. He's moved to China. They're living together. Now she's starting to cause issues. And I feel like you should have caused these issues before she married him, because now it's kind of late. And Josh said it. He was like, this girl's objective is to destroy our marriage, and you're letting it happen. And he was right. He was like, you should defend, because they've already had these conversations. The conversation about this woman, the photos, and on again, off again, if she was dating an American, blah, blah. They've already had these issues and they've moved forward. Yep. So Vivian rehashing it was an agenda. It was a plan. She wanted to bring back those memories and make her mom angry and try to get her to stop the wedding that they have planned, which I don't know. Lily did say, like, I don't know if I really want to go through with it. I mean, it's too late, right? I mean, I guess the marriage doesn't matter in China, but it matters in the U.S. They got married in the U.S. It matters. But I guess in her opinion, she could just send Josh back and no harm, no foul. I think it's weird how they'll get married and they'll say they mean it, but then if it doesn't stand where they are, it wasn't that important or serious. It's really interesting the way they look at it. She's like, oh, I don't know if I want to marry him now. Y'all are married already. You don't, it's just, are you married in this country or that country? You're married. A vow is a vow. Absolutely. Like you took the vow, and it's weird the way she said that.
Yeah, I agree. But I'm still so bothered by the fact that she said he's a liar and it's scary. Those are two very big things to say about somebody. They're like, it's like, I don't like somebody and I hate somebody. There is a huge difference between those two things. Not liking someone and hating someone. Hate is a very powerful word. And so is liar and scary. Those are very powerful words. And that's it you take back.
That's true. I'm really bothered by Vivian's part in their relationship. Like, how there's always somebody who's putting a negative hand in everything. I feel like she's that negative energy. Yep. And that's causing the discord and the issue. And there's always that one person. It's sometimes like it's a best friend or it's an ex or, it depends, or a sister or brother. They're always just bringing a negative spin on everything. Like, oh, well, you should break up with this person. You should move. Instead of like having constructive conversations with you, they're just like, you should leave this person. You should kick this person out. You could do better. Like they never have anything positive. And I feel like her daughter, but another thing that I was wondering, so Lily lives in this big, huge house with an elevator, 5 stories tall, and her daughter's a Hollywood actress, or their version of a Hollywood actress. I'm beginning to think the daughter Vivian bought the house,
Mhm.
and that's why she's so bothered by Josh living in it.
Yep.
Because I was like, well, why does she care? Because she's like, you should have sent him back home already. You should break up. You should be. I was like, why do you care unless this is your house?
Right.
Because you know, a lot of times when a kid becomes a big star, the first thing they do is buy their parents a house and a car, right? And I was like, what if
Yep.
this big, beautiful house was a gift from Vivian to Lily? And
Yep.
that's why Vivian is so entangled in all this relationship drama, because she doesn't want some random man living in the house that she bought. Because I was
Yep.
thinking that too.
You show up with your dog named Rolex. I'm pretty sure, like, I'm pretty
Well,
sure it started with her.
yeah, I think if anything, this is family money, and it started with her. You're right. Like, I think because when we were learning about Lily's occupation, like her spa, and I think Josh was like, "Oh, it's like $15 for a massage over there," and I was like, "So where did the house come in?" So I'm beginning to think this is family money, and I think that maybe Lily started her business off of her daughter's money too, and I think that's kind of why Vivian is so entangled, because
Yeah.
she feels like I funded and sourced all of this. So I get to be nosy. I get to have an opinion, because if it wasn't for me, none of this would be. And I
Right.
think that's why she feels that her opinion is more important than her mom's, I
Yeah.
guess, because she kind of looks at it as, well, she's living the life that I gave her. You know, and see,
Yeah.
that's why, and that's another reason why I don't like when people give me things, or gift me things, and then want to control me based on what they give or did for me. I hate that. Just
I
save it.
don't ever do anything for me if you're going to hold it above my head.
Right? I
Yep.
hate that. And I feel like that's kind of where Vivian is probably coming from. She's like, well, you're living in this house, and your dream of owning a spa, or, you know, I did that for you. So
Yeah.
now I get to dictate who you can and can't date. And if I don't like them, they can't stay. You know, I feel like that's kind of where it's coming from, you know,
Yep.
because why else would she be so adamant about this man? Right? Like, she's just like, I hate him. You know, I want to destroy this. Like, she came there with an agenda. She was ready to destroy that
Yeah.
situation. When she got there, she was ready. She had her hat on, she had her dog, she was armed and ready, right? She was ready to take him down.
I actually
And,
feel bad for Josh.
well, you could tell that this wasn't the first nasty conversation or interaction Josh had with her. He might not have met her before, but I feel like she's been putting her negative energy in their relationship for a while, because the way that Josh was speaking towards her, you could tell this wasn't the first time he's dealt with this.
Yep.
Because even Jared, his brother, was like, you should be a little more respectful. He's like, I don't have to be anything. I'm
Yep.
tired of this. So you knew that this had been going on for a long time.
Absolutely.
All right, so we got a little mama's boy last night. And Tina went on her date with Ed. And so we found out that Ed was a daddy's boy. So they dated for almost a decade. And Tina actually broke up with Ed because Ed wouldn't move out of his dad's house. And she was like, I need a man, not a boy. And then the irony of the situation, Ed brought that up to her on the date, which Josh dropped her off and then like stayed.
Yeah, that was
Not the whole time, but like he stayed. But we found out that she dumped Ed because she didn't want to be with a daddy's boy, and now she's raising two versions of what she didn't want for herself.
Yep.
And that was the irony, and I think she realized it when he said it. She's like, oh, how ironic. I'm raising two mama's boys, and I didn't want that for me.
Yep.
But that's who I've turned them into. And I think maybe, you know, she might open her eyes a little bit, you know, to who her sons are becoming, and at the hands of herself. You know, because look at the relationship her sons have with their wives. It's rocky because of who she's made them to be, and her interactions with her sons and their wives. And it's like, if your sons end up both divorced because of you, how would that make you feel as a mother? You know, like, both of your sons went from happy marriages with kids to alone and paying spousal support because you just wouldn't allow them to live their own life. Like, how would that make you feel?
Right. This woman, I understand a smidge about how she had her stroke or her heart attack, I don't remember which, and they almost lost her. And I get that fear of wanting to keep her close. When my mom had her first heart attack, I wanted to spend as much time with her as I possibly could. Fortunately, I was blessed to do so. But if my mother was a negative force in my marriage, I wouldn't have been able to, like, I would have still loved my mom. I would have just had to do it from a distance a little bit,
Right.
and I literally nothing she can do is going to make her seem like a nicer person, because she's so nasty the way she talks to everybody. And I just can't get past it. I want to be like, oh, she's just a good caring mom, blah blah blah, but I also want to be like, they're good caring kids. They almost lost their mom, and so they're trying to savor those moments, but this is absurd. She is a nasty human being. She's inserted herself in every which way she can. I I hope that they get to move. I hope they get to move alone. I hope she ends up with Ed and leaves them the hell alone.
Well, we saw in a scene upcoming, they went to see the house in Florida, and it's too small for the mom. They didn't show like the outside, but they have kids, they have their stuff, and even Tina said it. She was like, "This is too small for everyone," and Janelle was like, "Yeah, exactly. That's the point. This is just our space." And I want them to be happy, but I also know what it's like to have a mom really far away.
Right.
So, but it's like, if she's not going to respect their marriage and respect their family, she might have to be far away. But
Right.
I don't wish on anyone that their mom to be far away from them, right? Like,
Right.
I don't wish that on anyone. But if the mom doesn't respect your family, respect your household, respect your wife, I was always told, when there's holidays and stuff and you invite people over or you get invited, that's a privilege. When you're invited into someone's home and they want to spend time with you, it's a privilege. And I think Tina doesn't look at it as a privilege. She looks at it as a right.
Yeah.
And if she doesn't start respecting them as a whole, she might lose her privilege to be that close to her sons. And she'll learn the hard way, especially at this point in your life with grandkids. You want to be there when you can. And I think that taking full advantage of that, and she might lose her privileges. And then at this point in life, with her being 60 years old, this is the time you spend with your grandchildren. You cook for Thanksgiving. Everybody comes to your house. You go and see everyone. If you lose that, that's going to be a huge void in her life that she created herself. It's her fault. Like, nobody will do it but her. It's her fault.
Absolutely.
Oh, so I want to talk about shaking Christmas cards, because this came up with Charlene and Chris in Austin. So they invited Chris over for Christmas. He had recently lost, I think, his dad and his grandmother very close together, right? So it was very difficult for him at Thanksgiving. So they invite him for Christmas, and there's a Christmas card, and Chris shakes the card, and Charlene gets really, really, really offended by that. And you know what's funny? I've been getting Christmas cards, like, before my grandmother passed away. I think I've been getting Christmas cards since I was like 5 or 6 with money in them.
Yeah.
And it only stopped the year she passed away. Like, every year for the rest of her whole life, I got money. So I always knew when I opened it, there's going to be money that fell out. So I never even realized it could be considered rude to expect money in a card. So how do you feel? Do you think she overreacted just because she don't like him, or do you think it was rude to do that in front of her?
I mean, I think that she overreacted, but I agree with you completely. My grandmother sent me money every birthday, all that. When, like, my kids' grandma, when one had a birthday, she would send a card to the other one also with like half the amount, so nobody ever felt left out. So that's very normal. But also, I feel like it was all in fun between Chris and Austin. He's just like, hey, there's the money in there. Did you forget something? Totally a joke. I could see myself doing that with my husband. My husband gives me a card, an anniversary card or something. Oh, that's sweet. Did you forget something? It's a joke. But he took it way too far.
Well, yeah, and I think it's because she doesn't want him to be close to her son.
Yeah.
Like, because she's like, oh, I don't mind him, being around, but they can't be together. Also, what's up with the weird thing where she buys the boys underwear and takes pictures in front of the tree? Yeah. Like, this was giving me like weird, strange Menendez brother family stories. Like, I was like, this is so weird, right?
Right. Like, what's wrong with an ugly Christmas sweater? for fun pictures.
Well, right. Like, why are you photographing the boys in their underwear as a Christmas tradition? Like, it just sounds like something on Dateline, right? It just sounds like something that we're hearing on Dateline and somebody was doing weird stuff. And I mean, yeah, they're grown, but when did this tradition start? Were they always? You know, like, this was really weird.
Yes. She was wearing an ugly Christmas sweater. You didn't see her out there in her freaking underwear. Why'd you put those boys in that? Like, I can't.
It's the whole situation. I was confused. Okay, so Matt went on a date with a girl named Chantel, and I knew it wasn't going to be a match, obviously, but she did tell him about himself to the point where she might have gotten through to him. He realizes that, you know, I'm alone because my mom always finds something wrong with every girl I ever date. You know, and sometimes the best way to learn something about yourself is hearing it from someone else. And I feel like he needed to hear that information. And, you know, he's got to...
I think it was good because they're not in a relationship. This was like a meeting. And so being a complete outsider, someone saying, look, I met you for 5 minutes. This is what I see. And you're never going to be happy if you continue down this path. So he's like, okay, so this girlfriend, and this girlfriend all left because of my mom, because they're all crazy. Because obviously they wanted me all to themselves. But when this outsider comes in and says, look, you're never going to have anything serious as long as you have this dynamic, I think he needed to hear that, because the emotion he had behind his tears and behind his words, that was genuine.
Yeah, I think that he's seeing the cycle. And it's hard to see someone that you love and you see their flaws, because I think that he really, really like adores his mother. So when he sees her flaws and he realizes that her flaws are having a negative impact on his life, it's not easy, you know, when you see that, because you assume your parents are perfect and they make no mistakes, right? When I was little, I thought my parents were perfect and made no mistakes. And then as I got older, I saw eras, right? And that was hard because they're superheroes. When you're kids and you're growing up, they're superheroes, and then you realize they're not superheroes. They're just regular people trying to make things happen. And I think that he's learning a lot later in life, like, hey, my mom doesn't always have my best interest at heart. Sometimes it's her best interest. And I think that's what he's going to have to take into consideration if he ever wants to get married, right?
But so there's Matt's dad. Like, Matt's dad has said she needs to cut the cord, kind of thing. But don't you feel like Matt's dad might want some time with his wife also?
You would think, because they've been married a really long time. And it's funny because when we were watching the first season, we didn't even know his dad existed. He's never around. He's never there. He never does anything with his wife. It's always Matt. And I don't, you know, that could cause some animosity between father and son. Like, what if Matt and his dad could have been much closer if this dynamic wasn't the way that it was? Like, what if he probably could have a way closer bond with his dad if his dad might not feel like he stole my wife from me? Right. You know, there could be the dad is out doing things on his own because no one wants to do anything with him. You know, he could feel that way. And then everybody in the family is alone in some way, shape, or form, right? Because Matt's alone, Kelly's alone when she's not around Matt, and Matt's dad's always alone. Like, everyone in the family is alone because of the way that the dynamic is set up. So I'm really hoping that, you know, there's been 4 seasons of this, you know, I think Matt's probably finally seeing, like, hey, all these random people, all these women, all from different walks of life. I want to say one of them was from Texas, like different states. And they all have one main issue, and it's my mother. Yeah. And it's like, I can't just call these women crazy. Yeah. Right? It can't just be they're the issue. It could be that she's the issue, my mom's the issue, and I'm just blaming everyone but the real problem. And you know, if he doesn't want to change, you know, he can stay close with his mom forever. You know, and until, if that's what makes him happy. But if you want to fill that void and be happy and have a relationship, which is a normal thing to have, a mother should want you to have that. But if you want that, you're going to have to set boundaries. Well, and it's going to be hard for Kelly. Kelly, boundaries is not in her vocabulary.
Yeah, and Kelly keeps talking about how she can't wait to have grandchildren and how we got to find you the perfect blah, blah, blah. But yet you don't give him 3 minutes alone when he's got a date. You've got to be there almost in the bedroom with him. So
she'd be outside the window. She ripped the bush out of the ground so she could look around. How you going to get grandkids if you watching them through the window? You know, like, you have to you have to compromise on what you want too. Like if you want grandkids, he would have to have time alone with another woman. So if you don't want that, then you don't want grandkids.
Yeah.
Right? Like I think that she is a double standard. She's like, well, I want this and he won't give them to me. I'm like, well, you want what you won't allow him to give you.
Exactly.
You know, so you can't blame him either. You're part of the problem. Oh, so Shahid and his stepdad Jerome hate each other. So I don't want to say stepdad. This is kind of like his mom's boyfriend of like 8 years. So Jerome can't stand him, and he thinks that Shahid is never going to move out. He's never going to change, and he wants him out of the house, which I think he's the voice of reason here. Well, no, I don't want to say that because Shahid's brother feels the same way.
Yeah.
He was like, he needs to get the hell out of this house and do something. It's like, I think that they're both right. So they played a basketball game, and they bet whoever lost has to move out. And I guess Shahid wins, and his mom is like, well, he's not moving out. You know, like that's not going to happen. I think they're both immature. But his mom, Dia, said something interesting. She said that she does eventually want Shahid to move out, just not with Nyla.
Yeah.
Did you catch that? So do you believe her? Do you think that she would actually be okay with him leaving the house?
No. But I think if he leaves the house, she loses all control, and she is a control freak.
Well, she controls his money. We're going to actually next week, we're going to see him take Nyla out to dinner. She goes and transfers the money from his account to a savings account, so his card gets declined at the restaurant. Yep. And you know 190% she did it on purpose. She knew that he was at a restaurant with her. She knew that he was going to pay for the meal, and she did it on purpose. And I think that type of controlling issue, because let's say Nyla doesn't have any money. Right. Let's say they both eat the food. The restaurant's like, this is an issue, and they call the police.
Yeah.
Like, look at the situation that you've now created for your child. The police don't care that mom doesn't like Nyla. The police care that this is a dine and dash and somebody has to go to jail. That's all they care about. So it's like this, you love your child, but this is the type of situation you would put your child in. And that's how controlling she is. She doesn't even think about the actual consequence. She just wants to be a bitch to Nyla.
Yep.
Right? And obviously Nyla probably has money in her purse. She's not going to let him go to jail. But let's say Nyla's petty and Nyla's like, well, I'm going to pay for my food.
Yeah.
And leaves him there.
Yep.
Now what? You know, like, now what? Like, I just don't like the way that she's evil, but like to the point where she doesn't think about her own child in the process.
Yep. I agree. I completely agree. So he doesn't like the boyfriend or the stepdad or whatever you want to call him. He doesn't like him. But mom doesn't give two shits. I don't care how you feel about my man. That's my life. But here, destroy yours because I don't like the... Yeah, I can't.
It's a complete double standard. You're right. His opinion about Jerome, it literally falls off her ears. She could care crap less if she likes him or not. But if she even thinks Nyla is moving too close to him, you need to break up with her. She's a gold digger. She's a stripper. She's a liar. She's a hooker. And she demands that he doesn't be with her. She's taking money out of his account so he can't be with her. You know, like that's to the point of, no, like menacing. Like that's being a menace, right? Like that's being a menace. And it's like there's a thin line between love and menacing someone's life. And I think that she's beyond love. I think now she's like causing unnecessary stress and issues in his life, you know, just based on, I don't like that girl. And it's crazy to me because if it's not her, it'll be a different girl. Like, because isn't that what Kelly has been learning? Like, you can chase as many girls away as you want. There'll be another one at some point. They're not going to just give up. They're going to keep bringing girls around. So you either can learn to like one or just let them live.
Yeah. I don't think mom's ever going to be at peace with this.
No, I think Jerome is right. I think Jerome is like, until you take your nipple out of his mouth and let him be a man and grow up and take care of himself, it's never going to change. I think he's right. And even though she claimed, no, I want him to be happy and move out and be successful, I don't believe her. I don't believe that because her actions don't show me that. You know, and it's like, she's like, well, I want him to be ready. And I'm like, well, him being ready would be you pulling away. You can't be independent when there's someone brushing your teeth for you and doing your laundry and cooking your food and taking you to the dentist. He probably doesn't even know what his insurance card looks like. Say he needs to go to the doctor without his mom. He doesn't know how. He doesn't know what to do, right?
Not at all. And he's a college graduate. He graduated 3 years ago, so.
He's educated, intelligent, there's no reason why he shouldn't be successful. And it's sad to think that the only reason that he's not successful and independent is because his mom is holding him back. It's the weirdest thing to say, because I never would think a mother would ever do something like that.
Yeah.
And it's my mom went out of her way. She went without, so I could be educated and I could go to school and I could do things. So the idea that people are doing the opposite and say they love their kids is just baffling.
Yep, I agree.
All right, so we're going to wrap. We're going to be back sometime to talk about 1,000 Pound Sisters, which I think airs tomorrow. It hasn't aired yet. I'm going to talk about 1,000 Pound Sisters because there's a lot going on with the sisters, the Slanton sisters. And we'll come back Sunday for Before the 90 Days. I don't know what's going on with Instagram. We might be on Instagram. We might not. I don't know what's going on. I'm going to try to send in like a request, a ticket, and ask them if there's anything that we can do. Hopefully there is. I don't know what's going on with it, but make sure to follow my co-host Cara. She's tagging this video. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms at George Mossey, GeorgeMossey.com. Anywhere you get your podcast, type in the George Mossey Show. Talk to you all soon, and we will hopefully see you on Instagram on Sunday. Bye.